So you may have been living in your current city or town for some time and you're ready to make a change, or you just want some better career opportunities for your life. And you're thinking of, where should I move to where I can have these opportunities? And today I'm going to share with you why you may want to live in Chicago. And we're going to go over the pros and cons of living in Chicago, Illinois. Now, I was born and raised here, and at the age of 17, I left Chicago and went out of state for college. And in the past 20 years, I have lived in many cities within the United States, and I'm not being biased, but in my opinion, Chicago is still one of the best cities to live in. My name is Sherilyn Williams, and I am a local Chicagoland realtor, and my goal and focus is to help you build your dreams through real estate. So if you're thinking of relocating to Chicago for a career opportunity, or perhaps you have family members and friends that you want to be closer to, please reach out to me. I'm here to help you with any and all of your real estate needs. Before we get into the pros and cons of living in Chicago, I first want to give you a little bit of background information on Chicago. Chicago is the third largest city in the nation, next to New York City and LA. The population of Chicago is 2.7 million people. The population of New York City is 8.8 million people. So you can see that Chicago is still a large city, but it's still small enough where it's a very friendly city, and it has a very friendly Midwestern atmosphere amongst the people that live here. So if you're walking down the street in Chicago and you need directions or you need help and you approach a random stranger, that stranger is going to be more than willing to help you and be very friendly about it, which can be surprising to many people. What surprises many visitors that come to Chicago is that Chicago is a very beautiful and clean city. Chicago is known as the skyscraper city of the world. So there's many large buildings with modern and old architecture that is absolutely stunning. Chicago skyline is known as one of the most beautiful skylines in the world. When you are downtown Chicago, you can overlook the large and beautiful Lake Michigan. That is a lake, but it really looks like a large ocean. And along Lake Michigan, there are over 20 beaches that you can enjoy. In Chicago, there's people from all over the world that live here, so there's many cultures and ethnicities. There's over 178 neighborhoods in Chicago, believe it or not, and 83 suburbs. So if you move here, there's a perfect neighborhood just for you where you'll fit in just right. So now let's get into the pros of living in Chicago. Pro number one are the career opportunities. If you are looking to start a new career or you want to advance your current career, Chicago is the place to be. With so many people here, your business or career will thrive. Chicago has career opportunities in retail, the food industry, healthcare, computer, business, food industry, you name it, it's here. The average Chicago worker makes between $52,000 to $88,000 per year, and the annual average salary is $87,000. Chicago is known as having 35 Fortune 500 companies that call Chicago home, like Exelon, Hyatt Hotels, McDonald's, Caterpillar, you name it, and it is here. So if you are looking for career opportunities, this is the city where you want to be. The second pro is that in Chicago, there is always something to do 12 months out of the year, January through December. It doesn't matter if it's fall, winter, spring, or summer. There's always something going on. And many of the activities that you can do are free. We have 2 zoos. We have Lincoln Park Zoo and Brookfield Zoo. We have museums that are free, like the Museum of Science and Industry and the Shedd Aquarium. In the heart of downtown, you can overlook the city at Willis Tower in the John Hancock Building. You just want to spend a relaxing day outside, you can hang out downtown at Millennium Park at the Bean and Buckingham Fountain. If you're an active person and you like to exercise, you can jog, rollerblade, or ride your bike along Lake Michigan or hang out at one of the fabulous beaches. You can gather together with friends and family and have drinks at many of the fabulous restaurants, sports bars, clubs, and let's not also forget the sports. We have so many sports events that you can attend. The third pro is if you're a sports fan. And even if you're not a sports fan right now, when you move to Chicago, you soon will become one. We have 2 professional baseball teams. We have the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox. We have the NFL team, the Chicago Bears. We have the basketball team, the Chicago Bulls. And we have a hockey team called the Chicago Blackhawks. And fans tend to go crazy on sports day. And if we're in contention for a playoff or a championship, the city goes wild and crazy. There are no fair weather fans here in Chicago. The fourth pro is that we have a renowned mass public transportation system that is pretty much known around the world as one of the best. There's no need to have a car if you live in the city of Chicago, because there's always some transportation system that can get you anywhere you need to go. We have the CTA for our bus station, we have subways, and we have the train with the Metro. You can commute downtown and to many of the suburbs. And many of the suburban residents commute into the city for work. The fifth pro of Chicago is that it's a very culturally diverse city, and there's people all over the world that have moved here and immigrated here. When Chicago was first established, many immigrants from Europe and all around the world came here for a better life and opportunity. And many of the neighborhoods you will see where these different immigrants and cultural groups establish their own communities, like in Chinatown, Little Italy, Greek Town, Swedish community, Polish community, you name it, we have it right here. So you can't really help but to know people from different cultures and ethnicities in Chicago. The sixth pro is Chicago food. If you are a foodie, you will love Chicago cuisine. We have so many restaurants. We're known for the Chicago style pizza and the Chicago hot dog, but we have many cuisines from other cultures as well. Because we are an immigrant city, many cultures have established their own cuisines and restaurants that we all enjoy. We have the Polish, pierogi, we have Indian food, African food, Mediterranean, Italian, Greek food, you name it, it's right here. So there's all kinds of food to satisfy your palate. Now let's get into the cons of living in Chicago. Con number one is the weather. I'm going to tell you, if you do not like cold winters, Chicago may not be the place for you. Although the winters have been pretty mild the last few years, the coldest months in Chicago are the months of December through February. It can sometimes get well into the negative numbers, and you can just feel the chill across your face and your hands start burning because they're cold. But when summertime hits in Chicago, it becomes alive around the month of March. People get out, they're running, they're jogging, and it becomes a very active city. And I always say that, man, if Chicago was warm all year, this city would rival a Miami or LA. Second con is parking. Parking is absolutely terrible in the city. Sometimes I could be driving around for hours just to get to my location, and it can get very frustrating. There are parking meters where you can pay, but sometimes that's dime a dozen. So like I mentioned earlier, commuting by bus or train is sometimes the best way to get around in the city. Con number three is the crime. Now, yes, there is crime here in Chicago like there is in any other major city. You have to remember that we do have a population of 2.7 million people. So if the crime was that bad in Chicago, why would we have such a high population? So sometimes I feel that the crime statistics are exaggerated. In my opinion, crime usually happens in certain pockets of the city that you know where to stay away from. If you're just walking downtown, Chicago is relatively safe. The fourth con of living in Chicago is that the cost of living can be high, but that's all relative. The cost of living in Chicago is 6% higher than the U.S. average, but it's not as high as living in a New York City or LA. In Chicago, the average sale price of a home is $298,000 compared to a New York City where it's $762,000 and a LA where it's $971,000. So if you look at it compared to New York and LA, Chicago is a very affordable city. But if you were to compare it to like a Detroit or a city in the South, Chicago would seem like it's expensive. The sixth con is that we have very high property taxes here. And a lot of people are leaving Chicago because of this. Chicago ranks as the second city with the highest property tax compared with New Jersey being number one. If you like the information that I provide in this channel, please press the like button and subscribe to my channel so that this information can get out to more people. So if you're thinking about making a change or a move to Chicago, Illinois, please reach out to me to help you with your real estate needs. I would be more than happy to help you. Thank you for watching.
down. All got 10 bottles snap. Now we ain't spitting.